Everybody thought the old dice game story was buried forever, until Offset suddenly started screaming about stolen millions, secret industry finessing, and Wack100 allegedly manipulating deals behind the scenes, while bullets, lawsuits, gambling drama, and public humiliation started exploding around him at the exact same time. And now people inside hip-hop are asking one terrifying question: is this just another rap beef, or is this a slow-motion disaster nobody can stop anymore? The craziest part is that this entire nightmare allegedly started from something so reckless, so chaotic, and so unbelievably petty that it almost sounds fake when you first hear it. A late-night dice game. Inside QC Studios. Cash everywhere. Famous rappers everywhere, street egos colliding in one overheated room while thousands of dollars changed hands every few minutes like nobody cared what could happen next. But according to the stories that refused to die, that room became the birthplace of a feud that kept mutating year after year until it finally turned into accusations of betrayal, financial manipulation, shootings, public disrespect, and a war of narratives that now feels completely out of control. And sitting right in the middle of every version of the story is Wack100. Loud, unfiltered, always talking. Always inserting himself directly into the center of the drama, like a man who genuinely enjoys standing in the middle of chaos while everybody else burns around him. That's what makes this situation feel so explosive, because Wack never tells these stories quietly. He tells them like courtroom testimony. Detailed, aggressive, rehearsed, almost cinematic. And every single time he retells the QC Studios incident, the tension somehow grows even worse instead of fading away. According to Wack's version, the night started with a massive dice game involving Offset, 42 Dugg, Blueface, entourages, QC affiliates, and stacks of money flying across tables deep into the night. The bets allegedly climbed into five-figure territory while emotions started rising with every roll. At first, 42 Dugg was supposedly winning big while Offset kept losing thousands. Then suddenly the momentum flipped. And that's where the energy in the room allegedly changed completely. Because according to Wack, once Offset started getting hot with the dice, Dugg allegedly tried to leave the game while the action was still active. In street gambling culture, that is considered a massive violation, not a small misunderstanding, a serious, disrespectful move. The kind of thing that instantly changes the mood from money to violence. And from that point forward, every retelling becomes darker, more dangerous, more uncomfortable. Wack claims Offset chased Dugg outside the studio toward the parking lot while people scrambled behind them trying to stop things from spiraling. Then came the part that made this story legendary: inside rap gossip circles. Wack alleged that Offset grabbed at Dugg's pockets, threw punches, and that shots were fired during the confrontation. Not robbery money, not petty internet beef. Real bullets being discussed around real people standing in a real parking lot. Suddenly, the entire situation stopped sounding like rapper drama and started sounding like the beginning of something deadly. And Wack absolutely loves repeating the line that if he hadn't stepped in, somebody would have ended up dead that night. That sentence became gasoline poured onto an already toxic story, because every time he says it publicly, it indirectly paints Offset as somebody who nearly crossed a line nobody could come back from. But here's where the situation becomes messy and suspicious, because not everybody agrees with Wack's version at all. 42 Dugg denied getting robbed, denied getting his pockets run, denied losing money. He insisted the entire situation was basically an argument that got overheated, not some cinematic street robbery the internet turned into folklore. Sada Baby also pushed back on the exaggerated storytelling and implied the situation wasn't nearly as dramatic as Wack keeps presenting it. And Offset himself reportedly denied key parts of the story while getting visibly irritated that this incident keeps being dragged back into public conversation years later. But the problem is, the internet never lets stories die once they become entertaining. And Wack kept feeding it, podcast after podcast, interview after interview, every retelling more detailed than the last, every new clip reigniting comment sections full of accusations, memes, and theories. Eventually, the conversation stopped being about the dice game itself and started becoming about something much bigger: money, industry exploitation, secret business resentment, because by 2026, Offset reportedly exploded publicly and started accusing Wack of moves that allegedly cost him millions behind the scenes. Not thousands, millions millions. Suddenly, this wasn't just old gambling tension anymore. This became an industry finesse narrative, a betrayal narrative, and the timing made everything look even uglier because Offset had already been openly discussing how artists get trapped in terrible deals without fully understanding what they signed away. During interviews, Offset talked about labels dangling giant checks in front of young artists while secretly controlling publishing, ownership, streams, and future revenue. He described artists waking up years later, realizing they don't even fully own their own success anymore. And once those comments resurfaced beside his apparent anger toward Wack, people immediately started connecting dots everywhere. That's what makes this beef feel different from ordinary rap drama. It's spreading into every corner of Offset's life at the same time. Business pressure, street pressure, public embarrassment, industry politics, personal collapse, fan division. And the scariest part is, nobody involved seems interested in fully ending it, because every interview brings another accusation. Every live stream creates another clip. Every old story gets repackaged into new tension. And now people are starting to notice something uncomfortable. The louder this entire situation becomes, the more dangerous it starts feeling. Not because of one single event, but because unresolved resentment mixed with money, ego, public humiliation, gambling accusations, and constant internet attention has a way of creating explosions nobody can predict beforehand. And right now, this story does not feel finished at all. The most disturbing part about this entire Offset and Wack100’s situation is that it no longer feels like two people simply arguing over old stories anymore. It feels like every single problem in Offset's life is somehow getting connected back to this same toxic cloud of gambling, money, betrayal, humiliation, and public pressure. And once fans started noticing that pattern, the conversation online became brutal. People stopped asking whether Offset was just going through a rough patch and started asking whether his entire world was slowly collapsing in public while everybody watched like it was entertainment. Because think about the timing. Right when the accusations about finessed millions and shady industry practices started getting louder, Offset was already drowning in non-stop personal chaos. His marriage with Cardi B had become one of the ugliest celebrity breakups on the internet. Every week brought another rumor, another subliminal, another messy headline. One moment there were reports about peace for the kids and mutual respect, then suddenly the internet was exploding with allegations about paternity drama, hidden resentment, emotional manipulation, and public humiliation being traded back and forth through music, interviews, and social media posts. And the internet is ruthless when they smell weakness. The second people sensed Offset was emotionally overwhelmed, they started connecting every setback together like detectives building a giant conspiracy board. Lower album numbers? He's finished. Gambling accusations? He's spiraling. Constant beefs? Nobody respects him anymore. Every clip became evidence. Every silence became suspicious. Even his decision to disappear online for stretches of time only made people talk louder, because now fans started wondering what was happening behind closed doors that the public wasn't seeing. Then came the casino shooting in Florida, and suddenly the atmosphere around everything became terrifying, because now the conversation crossed into territory hip-hop fans have seen too many times before. Real violence, real injuries, real panic. According to reports, Offset was shot outside the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino after chaos involving Lil Tjay's circle erupted in the Valet area. And the detail that made people's stomach drop? Gambling tension allegedly sat underneath that situation too. The exact same gambling energy that haunted the old QC dice game story suddenly appeared again in real life years later, except this time there were actual bullets and hospital visits involved. That coincidence alone made the internet spiral into conspiracy mode immediately. People started replaying old Wack interviews again. Old podcast clips resurfaced overnight. Fans started saying the gambling culture surrounding Offset had become a dangerous pattern instead of isolated incidents. And every time the conversation heated up, Wack somehow appeared nearby with commentary, opinions, reactions, or insider-style analysis that kept his presence attached to Offset's problems, whether Offset liked it or not. That's why this beef feels psychologically exhausting now. It's not one clean argument. It's layers on top of layers. Industry exploitation accusations stacked on top of old street tension. Public embarrassment stacked on top of business resentment. Personal heartbreak stacked on top of career pressure. Every new controversy feeds the previous one until the entire thing starts looking like one giant avalanche nobody can stop anymore. And then the vultures started circling. Other rappers inserted themselves. Internet personalities inserted inserted themselves. Streamers, bloggers, gossip pages, reaction channels, everybody suddenly had opinions about Offset's downfall. Finesse2X reportedly escalated things even further by publicly speaking on Cardi B and Stefan Diggs while threatening physical confrontation with Offset himself. At that point, it no longer even looked like isolated rap beef anymore. It looked like open season. Meanwhile, Offset's music career became part of the argument too, which might honestly be the cruelest part of all this. Because when fans start using your personal life to judge your music, the pressure becomes impossible to escape. His projects started getting analyzed less for creativity and more as evidence of whether he was winning or losing in life. Album numbers became ammunition. Chart placements became humiliation rituals online. Every underperforming release added fuel to the narrative that Offset was somehow falling apart publicly, while Cardi B's momentum continued climbing higher. But what makes this story dangerous is that Offset himself does not appear broken. Hurt maybe, angry definitely, frustrated absolutely, but not broken. He keeps performing, keeps responding, keeps stepping back into the spotlight even after shootings, internet ridicule, public relationship drama, and non-stop criticism. And sometimes that's exactly when situations become unpredictable, when somebody feels cornered but refuses to disappear. As for Wack100, he continues operating exactly the same way he always has. Loud, public, fearless, talking like a man who believes he controls the narrative because he understands how hip-hop gossip spreads better than almost anybody else. That's what keeps this feud alive. Wack keeps speaking, Offset keeps reacting, fans keep choosing sides, and every old story keeps mutating into new drama before the previous chapter even cools down.